Okay, hello everyone. In this walkthrough, we will be going through the question unicorns. It is under the reverse engineering category for the CTF month. And without further ado, let's get started. So if you're actually following along this video, remember that this question actually requires a server, and this server is actually no longer available as of my recent memory. But if it's still available, do launch the Docker container and get its IP address. If you launch the Docker container, it should run at port 8080. You may request the Docker container from us. We'll try to give it to you if possible. So for me, I've set up the server to be on my other computer at 8080. And this is what you're greeted with. There's an option to print, an option to change to maybe hello there. And you just print hello there. Of course, 0 to exit. The question is a reverse engineering question, so we should utilize the source code that we are given. So the distributable is actually a zip file of main.py and secret.py. But of course, the secret and secret.py is a test flag for you to try out on your own when you run main.py. Now, moving on, we see that this flag is actually imported in line 3. So this is quite useful. We should label it as such. Well, this question actually tests you on how to get this variable in this namespace within this file. And there are a few ways to do it, but the vulnerability that we will be discussing about today is about format strings in Python. And we'll actually use that and exploit that to be able to read other variables within this main.py file. To be more specific, we'll be trying to access a specific variable called globals, double under. If you're keen on learning more, you may read up about this dictionary online under Python, and it's quite a useful variable to learn. So moving on, we are given this handler class. So this is a socket server application in Python. And this is just the standard boilerplate of what's going on. So handle is run whenever we actually try to connect to it using netcat or anything else. And it will actually go into this underscore handle, which is the actual logic itself. So when we actually connect, we will start over here and go down. And you see that there are send alls over here and RECV, which stands for receive. So the server, which is this file, is sending all of this, basically this entire string, to us over here. And that's correct. Same with line 20. Now it's this receive call will wait for us to send. So let's say I send Bob in. So this Bob will actually go into this name variable. Of course, stripped down and decoded from UTF-8. Well, now this print is actually on the server, so you can skip this part. And we see that there's a menu. And scrolling down, we see that the menu is sent. So the send all and the contents of menu is correct. Of course, printing one leads us to this option over here. And you see that there's another send all call, and this is actually to unicorn. As you can see, unicorn is this over here. But what's interesting is over here, there's message. And the message comes with this .format method call over here. Dot message is by default, it's so fluffy as you can see here. And this is an interesting piece of code over here. This is what we're actually going to use to exploit this server. So what happens if we choose option 2? So we send the message, what will the new message be? And it will wait for a new message. Simply, we can send in whatever we want. So let's say, hey again. So the value of this flag, or the value of this, will be stored over here. And as you can see, the message that is being printed out when we press option 1, right? This same message over here and over here is being overwritten by our new message, basically giving us control of what this message is, which is quite useful. And as you can see, there's this dot format. So if you have forgotten, whenever you call dot format, it will try to, format the text. And to give you an example, maybe let's say my string is actually 0, 1, and 2. If we do my string format, and let's say hello there world, of this number actually just gives us the position of the values over here to take. Let's say 0, 1, 2, so it corresponds to 0, 1, and 2. So the final string would actually be hello there world. But you can also provide things that are named. So let's say hello name. And if we do this, which is the same format function, but provide a name equals to, let's say, Bob. Now it takes this name and it checks this name and it sees what's the value of it and it adds it to the string. Therefore, giving us this final string over here, Bob. As you can see, this part is substituted by Bob. Oh, in quotation marks because it's a string. And we have control over what my string is. But now it's the other way around. We can control this message. So if we are able to change, let's say, name is great. The resulting message over here would be Bob is great. That's one thing. And because of that, since we're able to control what the string actually is, you can do a few things with it. So let's say we change this message again. Note that we are given this self variable over here. Let's try to see what that actually is. So if we change this format string to curly bracket self curly bracket, we see that when we print it, so when we actually format or call the format function, it gives us this funny looking thing. If you're unfamiliar with these kinds of outputs, you may read up a bit more about Python, but it's not really necessary, as there are other ways of actually getting to the flag, but this is just one way of them. So we see that there's this underscore main handler class object, which is actually referring to this handler class over here, the thing that's handling all our requests. And an object, or basically it's just an instance of this handler class. It's referring to the instance that's serving me right now. So if you have multiple people connecting, they each have their own handler class object doing all of this logic. So it's separate. So that's cool and all, but see that it's actually giving us self, which is the actual object that is carrying out all the tasks for me. So actually, I can call the things that are defined within this handler class. Let's say I call handle. So if I do self.handle and print it, you see that it is pointed at this actual function here. So it's the handle method of the handler class object. And what we can do is also query this other function. It's the same result, but it's just this function instead. So moving on, we note that you're trying to test your skill of trying to find this double under global, double under variable. Well, the cool thing is that every function has access to this variable over here because it provides the function with the global variables. And what's included in the global variables would be the things that we have imported. So the globals variable will contain secret. So in this format string, you can actually just try to set that as, you can go to maybe any function. It can be underscore handle or handle, whichever one you know, and try to do double underscore globals, double underscore, and run that. As you can see, you are given all the global variables, like the name of this file, which is when it's executed, it will be underscore main underscore. The loaders itself, the built-ins, which is containing other stuff, such as, your file, the name of the file on the server itself, the modules that are important, and most importantly, the secret variable that we imported at line 3. Over here, you can see the value of it, which is GRUCTF out of format strings 437. So we have come to the end of the walkthrough. And if you require more clarification of some of the concepts that I've gone through over here, do feel free to contact me in whatever way possible. And I hope that this has helped those who have attempted this question to understand a bit more about, the inner workings of a socket server that's built on Python. And I hope that, apart from this question, that you go out and explore on your own about these types of questions. So once again, thank you and see you soon.